Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Delta County. I think I know everyone in the room at this point, except maybe we haven't worked together. I don't know. Have we been together? Please tell me your first name.
Cheryl.
Cheryl, thank you so much. And we have a student teacher. Can we give it up for you?
Do you want me to try this, Beth?
Thank you, Sarah. So for the next hour, we're going to focus on writing across the curriculum. I know that in the room we have kindergarten through 6th grade. Does anyone teach higher than 6th grade in the room? Excellent. So that's what I focused on because thank you to Mindy Becker, I got the list of who was, not who, but the grade levels that you taught. So we're going to be looking at student writing samples and then deciding how do we move this student in writing across the curriculum in language development. So we're going to take a different lens on writing samples. Because there's two people in the room that haven't worked with me before. My name is Beth Skelton. I live in Crawford. I started out as a German teacher, and then I went and got my master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages, and have been working with pre-K through adult multilingual learners ever since, which is a while now. And I also taught internationally, north of Munich, Germany. I live right there in Crawford, so that's just behind Needle Rock. That's my daughter, who's now also an ESL teacher in Switzerland. And German teacher, proud mama. And that's my second baby, which I have some copies of right here. It's my first book, working on number 2, all about what we're doing today. So, for multilingual learners, so writing in there. So that's just a little bit of background on me, and I'd love to do a quick check-in since this is your second session. How are you today? ¿Cómo estás? Ni hao ma, que fa Luca? You're going to answer on your fingers with a number 1 to 5. So can I say that 5 is an emoji that is not there? It's your choice. So can I see fingers? Where are you? Sweet! First day back. That's awesome. The meh option, Cheryl, that's always an option, but here, right now, you get to, what? You get to think of why. ¿Por qué? Why are you that number? Only 2 words, which is very hard for us. 2 words, and they don't have to be linked, but they could be linked. So it could be like tired, excited, nervous, angry, whatever. Just 2 words. Could be whatever you are, why your number. When you have that idea in your head, please stand of why you are that way. 2 words. When you've got them, why you are the number you are. And perfect. We have a 3-way here. Everybody else is 2. There's a person that you're standing next to. Please make a partner pyramid so I know who you're going to talk to. That's it. However your partner pyramid is. Great. Person that's tallest, go ahead first. Share your 2 words and then the shorter partner. Go ahead.
Excited and overwhelmed.
Okay.
2 words.
And I put excited and growth.
There you go.
Because I already feel like some areas like in that math, like I can really grow.
Yeah. And that's also
One of the things I learned about teaching is like everything she does is just like great strategy.
And come on back. As I said, 2 words are really tricky for us, right? But the second quick check-in, thank you so much. I had to check in on Cheryl because she was the only 3 in the room. She's cold and tired. That would definitely be a met. It might even be a 2. So the second quick check-in is this. If you were a fruit, today I would be... Because, and you don't have to choose one of those. That's just like inspiration. You don't have to choose one of those. If you were a fruit, today you would be because. Take a moment to think. When you can answer, please put your hand on your head. When you can answer, please put your hand on your head. Awesome. There's somebody else near you. So this is the other partner that's near you. So for the 2 of you, it's behind you, right? And Sarah, if you wouldn't mind jumping in and grabbing Cheryl and Jenny, could you grab us here? Dave, jump in with her. All right. Thank you. Go ahead. Why? Person with longest hair, go first.
I feel like I've just got a bunch of new ideas that. Great. That too.
I was really apple because I feel like I'm growing and I'm teaching.
Hey, come on, Pat. Dana, if you were a fruit, what would you be and why?
Mango. Because they're cool. they're very unique and it's a new year, and my daughter bought one yesterday and I was like, what? Like, we never buy mangoes because they're really expensive. And I was like, oh, they're like really special fruit. So
Dana is a special fruit.
I am special.
And she is feeling special and cool in the new year. Thank you so much. And you also chose mango, Angela, but for a whole different reason.
You chose mango too?
I did.
Oh.
And Angela, why did you choose mango?
It's the first, it popped in my head initially. I couldn't think about why I felt like a mango. And then she came up with some great ones, as mangoes are. They're really yummy and like juicy, but they're also hard to like figure out how to cut them open. And
So she's complex. It's hard to get into the center. She's hard to get to know a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So have a seat. Why did I start a writing workshop with these two check-ins? There's a lot behind that. Actually, there's a bunch of strategies that we just implemented that scaffold complex writing for multilingual learners, all in that intro. So let's take a minute to say, what did we just put into action that could be modeled in your classroom? In fact, you can steal those if you like them, that help all multilingual learners at any level with a strategy and action that you do, that scaffold or support. I'm using them interchangeably. I know that they're not identical, but we're going to talk about scaffolding writing for these multilingual learners, students who speak more than one language at varying levels of proficiency of their different levels. So that's our objective, and that intro modeled the objective, but my question to you is how? So at your teams you can do teams of 2, teams of 4 here, a team of 3. How did these two intro, and I think I have it here, how did these two little introductory strategies do that? How did they scaffold writing with those activities? So take a minute, your team, brainstorm that. And I'll ask you to answer with what scaffolded the writing, or by providing something I scaffolded the writing. So take a minute.
What do you think? Well, because I know we got a lot of our ideas from Mindy. Using pictures. Yeah. Using pictures. And she had a lot of emotions. She did. And she had a lot of very explicit, like, how to put partners together so everything makes sense. Right. So she could just quickly check.
The sentence phrase. So it's taking out. They just have to add the type of fruit in their life.
Right.
So it's the sentence structure. That's our
I think it goes to multi-levels because like you can do the emojis where a kid's gonna know what that means.
Right.
And they could probably come up with 2 words, even if
If
they're
you and your
Spanish.
team have at least 4 different ways that I scaffolded writing,
She had vocab on there, both English and Spanish, which are our 2 most common.
when you and your team have at least 4 different ways that I scaffolded writing, can I see a hands up? You have 4? 4 different ways? Teams of 2, do you have 4 different ways? Great. Please number off on your teams. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. Could you please number off on your teams?
1, 2, 3, 4, 2.
Wait, is it 1, 2, 1?
Yeah, just for you, just 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Okay, person 2, please stand. Great. Okay. I'm gonna grab those from you. What did you notice, Miss Dana?
Do I get just one?
Just one?
Is this like last man standing?
Yeah. No, just Mindy's last. She's good.
What Well, you had scaffold pictures and explain, like, to get us thinking, not just verbal words.
Right, so
You were like, here, this
starting
is-
with some entry point that is universal, okay? So you've heard a lot about UDL, Universal Design for Learning. This is right here, kindergartners have an entry point. Zero language, a student who arrives tomorrow as their first day of school and I check in with them can participate because they could draw their own emoji if none of these fit. They could show me on their fingers which emoji best fits them. They have an entry point into thinking, writing, and participating in class. So thank you, Dana, for starting that. Also, the same thing here, I could have labeled these in different languages as well. That would be, I need to go back and do that. Natalie, something else.
Well, that was one of them.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Jody mentioned how it was, the kids would feel safe to, because they're, like, you have examples, so it's not like you're coming up with your own original ideas, you're not being forced to having to think on the spot originally, you can like choose from something that's already there, and you feel more safe and comfortable in entering that.
Yeah.
Recipe.
This can also be for newcomers in their home language. So they could choose ubas, yeah. If they chose this one and why, this why could be answered in heritage language, but we're building in some English as well, right, at the same time. So they can still choose, there's an option, but it's not restrictive. Right? Thank you for that one, and you can have a seat. Jenny, tell me.
The arrows with the translations.
On the slide before.
I think that was on the
That
slide
was this
before.
one. Oh,
Yeah,
that
we
was
just
our,
kind of like
yeah, I'll
everything.
talk about that, was annotating the objective. Thank you.
Annotating the objective.
Yeah, that was annotating the objective, but this also has translations here. So for newcomers, if I want them to participate and they're brand new in the class, yeah, I'm gonna have to translate some questions. I'm gonna have to make sure that they know what I'm talking about. The vast majority of students in Delta County as a second language is Spanish. Is there anyone that has Korean or you have Korean? Any other languages?
Japanese.
Japanese,
Hebrew.
so it's not hard. It's not like you have 12 or 15 different languages, which is what I'm also I often teach that many different languages. That makes it just a little bit more cumbersome, but you have two, right? Two languages, you've got Spanish and Hebrew, or Spanish and Japanese. It's not hard to do. We have so many translating services, so making sure they understand at least the question so they can participate. Thank you so much. Mindy, one more.
By providing sentence frames, Beth scaffolded the writing. So you're taking away the mental load of how to get the structure of the sentence and the correct grammar, and I'm just filling in the parts that I might know.
Nice. Thank you so much, Mindy. I'm going to share some other intentional things with you. Scaffolding is often talked about like step by step, adding one piece, then add another piece, then add another piece. We started here with just, right, numbers on our fingers, right? That's it. The second thing I added were 2 words. They didn't even have to be in a complete sentence. Most kids aren't going to feel comfortable. I can grab 2 words. Home language or English, I can grab 2 words to describe, and I know what I'm doing because it's translated here. So that's an entry point for everybody to feel safe, like, yeah, I can talk about how I'm doing, I can give 2 words. Then we went into a fill in the blank where you can choose, right, from that. Now we're building into sentences, and this is a complex sentence structure, so for kindergartners, we're actually adding that because, right, the why. Also, language people, it's a metaphor. It's metaphorical thinking, so as far as thinking goes, this is very high level, metaphorical thinking. Why? As Angela said, I don't know why I'm a mango. How come I am a mango? What would a mango be like? I love what Natalie said, because it has a big pit. All right, now what can I do with that, right? How can I play with that? Because I have a solid core, right? So this is awesome metaphorical thinking. Often we talk about, oh, the kids are so literal. They don't get the metaphor that's in this text, or I'm doing literature, or, you know, a idiomatic expression. What about starting something like this? We're getting them into metaphorical thinking with concrete objects that help them move. That's also an expansion into writing. All of those were intentional to introduce us into how do I scaffold literally step by step to get kids into higher levels of thinking and writing. The other one that none of you mentioned, and it's not because you didn't, it's just because we only had 4 groups, is that I started with oral language, right? Now we can transition from speaking into writing. They are similar, but there is a difference in our social speaking and how we write academically, and we're going to talk about that. You're going to see how kids transfer their social language right into their writing. Doesn't always work, and we're going to have to teach them the actual writing is different. You're going to see that across the curriculum as well. But I wanted to show you that oral language is the foundation for that literacy development. No one knows that better than our kindergarten teachers, right? Oral language as a foundation. So, writing across the curriculum. Writing in math, writing in science, writing in social studies. All of you are elementary, yes, middle and elementary. Please, please, please have kids reflect in math class about how they solved the problem, what they learned today. There's so much research about that reflective writing in a math class. Have them write in science. What were the steps that I did? What did I notice in that experiment? All of that is all helpful for sequential writing, which we know is important in other places. In humanities and social studies, if they're learning the story of something, have them retell that story. All of that's going to help for them to recall the information. So we know that writing it down helps with memory, short-term and long-term. It helps them make connections between different concepts, writing that down, super powerful. And then finally, it's going to help them synthesize that information, taking lots of pieces across the day and put it together. Okay? So writing is powerful for all kinds of reasons. The focus of this session is the writing for our multilingual learners and how to move writing, right, from that sort of mess that we get sometimes, right? And how do we help them actually grow on the language development standards across the way. So you've been working with your multilingual learners for a semester. I know some came in October, some came in November, some are coming tomorrow. But the ones that you know right now, if you would take a minute, there's sticky notes, I believe, on the tables. If not, I have some more. And if you grab a sticky note and please jot down what you know your students need right now to write more proficiently at your grade level, okay? Just bullet points. What do they need? If you have at least 2 different things on your bullet pointed list, could you please stand? That was your move. That's your time there, Sarah.
Good move.
What I'd love is that I could have people that work mainly K1 and the English language development teachers in here that do the whole spectrum hang back and see who needs one of you. All right? So right now, if I could have K1 people here, kind of 2, 3 mainly, you're here, right? 4, 5, you're going to be over here. So would you please move to your corner? K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wherever you mainly work. Great. And then 4, 5?
Well, yeah, I'm currently not teaching.
Yeah, whichever group
So
you
I
want
was
to go
looking
to.
for 5th grade.
4, 5 is there? Where are you ladies? All over. Cheryl, what are you mostly? 2. Come on over here. Thank you. And then Mindy, Jenny, choose what, so Sarah's got kinder. You wanna jump, wherever you wanna jump in?
I'll go with them.
Okay, great. Do you also work kinder?
I do have a kinder.
Okay, here we go. Thank you. The English language development specialists that I've assigned to your groups, they're gonna come in after, you have 2-on-1. But what I love is in the teams right now, that you're gonna do like a whip around, you'll be the last one, okay? And I'd like you to add that language lens onto what they're saying. So what do your students need? Natalie's gonna read one of her bullet points, or one of your bullet points, one of your bullet points, just keep passing it around. You'll be the last and go around again if you've got more, all right? So hit it. What do your kids need? Go ahead. Yes.
So they're very good. They're not limited vocabulary. But, you know, they have to put sentences, why it's important to them. So that's just a lot of shared writing, vocabulary, and achieve. Reading, she could all around the understand what the curriculum. So, but I really think that is very what they're talking about. I was ready to be science.
They read that?
Yeah, I know the great part about it.
Oh, well, we'll be doing
Like, there's a lot of dialogue, but I focus
Right.
So,
her book is great. She's great about saying what people say, but then like, gives her context.
Right.
What's happening in society.
And let's wrap up. You're gonna have a lot in the upper grades. And I'm sorry, Angela, I forgot to have 6th grade. The 4, 5, and 6. Good, sorry. From kindergarten to 6th grade, commonalities, understanding what a sentence is, sentence structure, right? That was a commonality. I love what Angela said, understanding what the prompt is and how to answer that prompt. That's all about what the function is. What am I doing with this, right? That's huge for all kids, but required for our multilingual learners. If I ask a when question or an identify question, what does that mean? If I ask you to describe something, what does that mean? If I ask you to analyze something, what does that mean? Those are language functions, and we can actually explicitly teach that. So what you have here on this bullet point and what you generated, that's actually what we can teach. So you have the list. If you know what their needs are, you know what to teach, right? So that's where you go back and like, how do I teach this then, right? So you already have a really good idea. We're gonna dive into some student writing samples at grade 2 and 5. So I tried to catch, lower, like primary, and a little bit upper in the elementary based on who was coming. And we're gonna look at, okay, what do we do to develop the language around this outside of the, they need to know what a narrative is or an opinion piece and how to structure that. That's your English language arts kind of mentality coming in on it. Or they need to know how to write a science report. All of that, yes. And now what's the language behind it? That's what we're gonna do today. Please thank your teams and we have so much. All right. So these samples, actually I'm going to thank Harrison School District. I was working with them earlier in November, so these are fresh from Harrison. But because I didn't want to have Mindy have to come into school during break to grab some samples, or Sarah go all the way to. You have these, so don't worry. I'm going to give you these handouts. This is the actual writing sample, and.
Writing cursive.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. 2nd grade. Thank you. I think I have enough out.
One more.
Yep. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. If you flip to the 2nd page, the back of the front, The back of the front page, how's that? Right here. You'll see this sample. The prompt was simply to tell about the picture. Has anyone given a prompt like that? Okay, we're gonna analyze this prompt. Thank you, Angela, for raising that. Okay, the prompt in itself is an issue, but we'll talk about that later. This is the actual writing. The typed version is underneath, so you don't have to struggle with the handwriting in pencil. And the second is the 5th grade sample. The prompt for that one was based on a reading. They had read an article about piñatas, and then the prompt was to write about your own experiences with piñatas. Can anyone say, yes, I've done something like that? We read, and then we did a connection, a self-connection, okay? Again, we're gonna talk, Angela, because of what you did about the prompt itself, okay? Later. But that, I just wanna let you know that's what the prompts were. I'd like you to read the one that is closest to your grade level, where you're working. Sarah, you have one at your table that's the 5th grade and one that's a 2nd grade, so you're gonna work with both of them. What you're reading it for is what the student can do, right? And the challenges that that student is facing, okay? So the one that's closest to you in your grade level, I'd like you to start simply with the can do. Don't look at challenges yet, okay? Take a quiet moment individually. This is not talk time, but individually, what do you see that the student can do with writing? And if you'd like to bullet point that, there's space on the back, there's space around it, wherever. Just bullet point, what can the student do? If you've read the 5th grade sample, could you come up to this table area here? I think we have a lot, and you can just gather all around here. And then the 2nd grade, we're gonna have where you all are, okay? If you wouldn't mind moving. Yeah, you can just swivel another chair around. 5th grade sample is all here. Sarah, you can go whichever one you want, because there'll be plenty of people who want those, wherever you want to be. Yeah, and those of you who want to go wherever you want to be is fine. We'll have language development experts in each place. Great. All right. At your teams, you're only listing off. Oh, this is tricky. Only what the student can do. Okay, so this is not focused yet on challenges or what they need to work on. You're starting with the person who's been teaching the longest, and that person just starts and just says one thing they can do and then whip it around the circle until keep going around until you're done. Go. 23. Go, Cheryl. One thing.
I said they have basic structure.
I can read this whole
Sentence
sentence.
structure.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Could that be the same as a complete sentence?
Yeah.
I'd say yes.
Okay.
The verb use, the subject verb use.
They're verb.
I see, I know.
Appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding transition words.
second half of the first sentence is actually all proper, and I know that she was going to school, and that was pretty good. She's got all of her segments in there.
One thing, just some.
In order.
Next one, just go down.
One down.
You kinda know.
They use specific vocabulary from the,
So you think she made
but the paper mache.
Knowing how to
She
spell
did
paper
use
mache.
some.
I said that
the person could
focus on the topic and then expand on it. It's not like.
Oh, she did.
going on.
She used
Oh, she did.
Yeah,
She did.
I said, she used connectors, like and.
Did you get all the way around?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm descriptor.
And let's wrap. Excellent. How many of you start with this analysis of what your students can do? Yay, thank you. Everyone else is like, no. Good idea.
Even if
It
it's
is-
with a pencil on the paper.
Thank you, Dana. Yes. Starting with what they can do actually sets up your lessons to be more effective. Because if not, we're like, oh my God, where do I even start, right? Dana knows I can start with they already know how to form letters. That might be where we're at. Yes, they can form letters, so I'm ready to move on. Yes, they know how to start with a capital. Yes, they know how, right? They know about punctuation. Maybe not using it correctly, but they know about periods and question marks. So I don't have to start there. What they can do launches us into more effective instruction. Please, please, please start with an analysis of what they can do, and you're going to be amazed. Because if you have the whole class can do X, don't reteach. I am watching classes all the time, and I see a 3rd grade lesson on capitals and periods. I go to 4th grade and it's capitals and periods. I go to 5th grade and it's capitals. And I'm like, really? Really? Do we need that same lesson 3 years in a row?
For the whole class.
For the whole class? Right? So please start with this. It also will help you, Dana, just like you said, maybe it's stations. And we now have a station rotation set up with this group can, this group needs, this group can, right? So that in mind, yay, we have lots of things these kids can do. Now we're gonna level up and say, how do I move from where they are to where they need to be based on what we're gonna call the proficiency level descriptors. And this is why I need my English language specialists. You may, English language specialists, pull this up on your computer. It's the WIDA 2020 standards. You have this huge book, probably on your computer somewhere, or you can go to the WIDA website. These descriptors, and for those of you that are not the English language development specialists, I hope gives you an idea and why I felt good about doing this for everybody. This is for everybody. And the English language development specialist is your best friend in it, okay? This is about how do we move language at the vocabulary, sentence level, and the organization level. And you're gonna start to see things slightly differently than you normally do. And Jody, if you would like to grab a chair, go for it. You're gonna hang out
I
there.
will, but it feels so good to just
You may
stretch.
do what you want. Yeah.
So the can-do ones, is that the ones you want?
Nope, this is from this book. Go to the WIDA 2020 standards. You have to find that, the WIDA 2020 standards. And then you'll go to your grade level cluster, which is grades 2 and 3. And it's called the proficiency level descriptors. Sarah, it looks like this, and I'm gonna give you my book, so you don't have to worry. You have it, Mindy. Yeah. So it looks like this, and you all are following speaking and writing, okay? And I have them on the screen. So it's just a little fuzzy, that's why I didn't, okay? So what this is, it looks like a rubric, but basically is it's descriptors for what it means to be at different levels in the precision of language at the vocabulary level. Okay, so Sarah, we're at the bottom row, the words and phrases. And it looks like this. At grade 2 and 3, if they have a few frequently used words and phrases with emerging precision, time to eat, question mark, they would be here. If they're gathering some more like 3 groups of 4, that's a phrase, right? That would be here. If they have things like best friend, red ball, get it? It's adjectives in front of nouns. They're kind of here. Do you see where it's going, right? If they have phrases that are phrases of time, like after lunch, or real specific, my preschool friends, right? They're more here. What I'd like you to do is look at Sophia's, and you're gonna do the same thing with the grade 5. Sorry. I'll do grade 5 in a minute, but grade 5, you can look at yours for the same sense. Take a moment, where would you put this student, okay? Take a moment at that teen grade 2. If you want, you can do grade 2 or grade 5. You can be on grade 5. I will move grade 5 in a second. Okay. If you want to guide them through, if you can turn it around.
So this is what I have. Is that?
Nope.
No.
You're gonna
Right,
go.
I know, this is an interesting,
Okay, you are,
passage because
go
it has
actually to the lead.
repeat,
That's,
I mean, she's definitely done this.
It's
or
the digital explorer.
The digital explorer. Go to the actual And Sarah, yours is on the screen.
Yeah.
Yours is on the screen.
Oh, right.
Go to the-
Well, we also have it here. That's too far away too.
What's this?
Well, this feeling piece
It is like scuba, it just is weed. It used to mean something, now it doesn't. Yeah. It originally was the 4 states that founded the consortium, Wisconsin, Indiana, Delaware, and Arkansas. And then it moved to, this is what you're. And then it moved to world-class instruction, design, and assessment. And then they were like, yeah, we're just weed.
So you have to say where you
So,
want to enter it.
yeah. Word, right.
So, I would say, when you say between 3 and 4, that's what I would
Where do
say.
they kind of fall?
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, I think she's a 3+. A small repertoire of words and phrases and developing precision, best friend of the board. A growing repertoire of words and phrases and growing precision, but not really and expanded with including idioms and collections, hardest. I mean,
Look at the
that's,
examples they
that's
give
good, but that's why
and
it's
see if you
not.
can find those examples in the text.
So then, also.
All right, let's come on back so I can guide you through.
3+ between 3 and 4. Okay. So that should-
How many of you are seeing this for the first time?
This week.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is gold. Okay, and I talked to my English language development teachers and I said, we have to be super familiar with this because you don't know how to teach what they need unless you know where they're at. You have to start there. So I start at the word phrase because I find it the easiest one. Some start at the big level, the discourse level. It doesn't matter. But I'm going on a treasure hunt. So if I'm looking for words and phrases, what I'm finding is words like alone and feeling sad. So if I'm like, okay, that's words and phrases that are descriptive. We'll go to 5th grade in a minute. And I'm looking through here and I'm like, wow, okay, that's not quite this. There's no real adjective in front of a noun. It's not quite here yet. Right? So I'm putting her kind of in
I
here.
always get that wrong on the test
And-
because I like give them the best
I-
benefit.
I am not Ouida. I am not Ouida. It could be that somebody comes in
I
and
do that,
realizes
though.
differently, right? But I am seeing it somewhere in here. So to teach this, right, I'm looking at how do I move this student? And I look ahead and I'm like, wow, she needs idioms, she needs some adjectives in front of nouns. If I go to exiting this student, that's over here. I'm gonna exit this student like, adverbials of time, manner, and place. Oh, kids that were just with me, ELD teachers were just with me. Did you see why I hit that so much? Prepositional phrases. We just took a 2nd grader, and if we can add prepositional phrases, also known as adverbials of time, manner, and place. If we can add prepositional phrases, boom. So check this out. I'm going to take one part of one sentence from her, right? She is alone, okay? She is alone. Where is she alone? Go ahead. What might the student say?
At the bench.
On the bench, at the house,
In the country.
at school, in the country. Prepositional phrases, right? She answers in her house. When is she alone? After school. Nice. After school. Now I can tell her, put those together in one sentence. Tell your partner what could be that sentence. Tell your partner what could be that sentence. What?
She did say after school.
She
Just
did.
saying.
After school,
That's why I bumped her.
comma, she is alone in her house. And Sarah, fine. It's not wrong. It's like I'm glad
I wish I
you
could argue with like the
She
teacher.
said after that.
She didn't say after
So,
That's
thank
true.
you, Dana, and there's a huge difference. After that is just a transition phrase that she has learned, right? After school is an adverbial of time.
Right, good point.
Totally different. Okay, the one's a sequencing word that fits into sentence structure, and this one is a detail about time.
Right.
So after school, comma, she's alone in her house. We teach that they can start with the adverbial of time. This becomes how we teach students to move forward. Angela, does this make sense?
Oh, yeah.
You take one simple sentence that a student has and just ask them these questions instead of say add detail. You can do it at kindergarten.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? We're teaching prepositional phrases and adverbials of time. Yeah.
And I was gonna go along with that and how lazy, I don't wanna say lazy intentional, but as a teacher, we want the kids to get the transition. So we say first, next, last, blah, 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 blah.
So,
But how easy that is for all the kids and beneficial for all the kids to say, next, next, or after, blah, 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 and
Where.
saying aware for all the kids instead of stopping at that transition
Right.
word.
And
Thank you.
Yes, and if this is difficult for her, you could take her back to where she did in the first sentence, the second half was all correct. And I know that she is going to school, so you could say, let's just use what you already did so well. And I know she is alone after school because.
There you
So you can just, if that, to just take it right
Yes.
from what she already did,
Yes.
add a little.
And that's gonna be at sentence structure.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways we can go with this. I'm looking at just those vocabulary chunks. This is the analysis, yeah.
Would there be any reason to tell them like this is a prepositional phrase or an adverbial
Great.
of time or?
Great.
Or
So
does that really matter?
Yeah.
Like, it's more important that they're
There's-
using it.
Right, so there's different philosophies. When we talk about language, if you teach them that this is a prepositional phrase, it's then easy for you to say, hey, can you add a prepositional phrase starting with in or starting with, what?
Right.
So but it is another vocabulary that they have to learn. So I'm on the fence with what works because I want to talk about language. I need the language to talk about the language.
Right.
Right? So it may be worth sharing that this is called a prepositional phrase.
But not making that the lesson.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's how I generally do it because I need the vocabulary to talk about the language I want them to use.
Right.
Yeah. So let's look then at grade 5. What did you find in your treasure hunt? And if you'd like to look quickly, you have the grade 5. What did you find in your treasure hunt at that word phrase, precision of language? Just tell me the things you saw.
She had shape,
Yep.
candy, gifts, song, family,
Nice.
born.
Yep. I caught those too. Colorful shape. So we have an adjective in front of a noun. Made of paper mache. I'm guessing that came directly from the text because it was spelled correctly. And I couldn't get that little A, like carrot. They have it in the writing. Small gifts. So I am seeing adjectives in front of nouns and I'm seeing these kind of phrases made of paper mache. With that in mind, where would you put them? And you can play it like Sarah, you can see it down here, it's pretty clear. This one is for some reason came across very clearly. Where would you put it? Where'd you put this student? You can look at the examples if it helps.
It's a fairly simple sentence structure.
Sarah, we're just on words and phrases.
Oh, words and phrases.
Yeah.
And here's the things that the student has.
I feel like made of paper mache.
Yeah? Thoughts?
They have an adverbial of time because she says, we sing while someone is singing
Yes.
it, but it's not spelled while.
Well, we know what it means,
Right.
while, so we do have, we're getting into here, right? But is it own? I would put it a kind of a solid 2-ish. Again, I'm not perfect with this, but I'm just seeing it's growing. So again, and if you don't mind, table 2, the group 2, we're gonna go here. What do I need? What's my next step? Probably those adjectives and adverbials, the same kind of thing. So I'm gonna grab a sentence. First we hang the piñata. We do the same thing. How do you hang the piñata? Huh? By, how do you hang the piñata? With a long pole? On a tree? Yeah, that's a where, from a tree branch, right? And why? So we can hit it safely. And now we add all that together. First we hang the piñata with a long pole from the tree branch so we can hit it safely. Boom. That student's totally capable of that. Because you can see the writing that they're doing. But it's like structuring it for them with all of these phrases at that word level, right? And you can see how the word level and the sentence level fit together. And Jody, you were talking about that originally. Let's talk about content, because this is writing across the curriculum. We just did in the ELD class about the students that might be studying adaptations, okay? And the student has been researching the Arctic fox, and they write, they have white fur, okay? That's a perfectly acceptable sentence for level 2, but we need to exit them at a level 4, grade 5 and 6. They need to do a lot more. So how do we add details? Who has white fur? The Arctic fox. Why do they have white fur? Shout it out. For camouflage. When do they have white fur?
In the winter.
In the winter. Where do they, oh, on the snow, sorry. On the snow, shouldn't have been there. So then they can put it all together. The Arctic fox has white fur for camouflage in the winter on the snow. Bam!
I think about the first grade class I help with, and I think, my gosh, if I was just helping 4 kids at a table, this would be so amazing for all of them.
Yeah. That's how you do it, combined with the content. Right? Because our kids can do, they already has white fur, you already said, they have sentence structure, they have basic sentence structure. So what do they need next is that expansion with prepositional phrases, and you can do it right here, and then put it all together. Yeah? So that's your first strategy, that's at word phrase set level, and your application is adding those adjectives and prepositional phrases. All right, another strategy at the word phrase is what we saw in the last session, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but this is the second grader. She is alone. These were pictures. I have no idea what the actual picture was, right? But she is alone. We have pictures of possibilities. You could ask, when is she alone? In the morning, at night, after school, at 1 o'clock, in the summer, and they're all shouting out, right? Different things. Who is alone? He, she, my friend, my sister, my brother, right? And then the verb is she feels or she is. How does she feel? And you could have all these different ones. Shout out, what are the different feelings you could see on there? Lonely. What else? Peaceful. Thoughtful. Keep going. Independent. Curious. Focused. Yeah, happy, interested, playful, curious, sad, right? You chart what the kids say. Then we could ask where, and using these pictures, where is this person alone? Shout them out. What do you see?
On the beach.
At the beach, on the beach.
Next to the window.
Next to the window, in the house.
In the store.
In the library, and in the park, at the beach, right? Boom, we write them out and then say why. We could even expand there. Suddenly, we have a very complex sentence with details that has moved this student from a 2-3, right, Sarah, and that 2-3, boom, we've exited them. Okay, if we can get them consistent with that. That's a sentence pattern chart, and now they can write multiple sentences about a picture with that pattern. So we look at the patterns that we want, and you teach it versus a sentence frame. It's a pattern. Okay?
That's great. I'm just imagining that all the feedback of the children chiming in and the joy and the depth of it.
Let me show you. This is kindergarten.
Yeah.
This was kindergarten. They were studying paleontologists. Paleontologists use, and they had read all about paleontologists, right, Jody? They use goggles and cameras and drills and chisels and rulers so they can, why do they use them? Protect their blah, blah, blah. Now the kids can write a whole lot or say a whole lot about paleontologists using that chart. So that's a kindergarten chart. Katie Topple is my source. If you are on any social media, she's on all of them, and she posts these regularly whenever she creates them. She is a co-teacher in kindergarten through 3rd grade or 2nd grade, I believe. And so most of mine come from Katie's rooms. This is another one from Katie's room, and they were talking about animals. So it's an, or the. The adjective comes in front of the noun, the verb, the adverb, and then the prepositional phrase. So she did note those even at the kindergarten, 1st grade level.
Great. I love that.
And I'll share these.
Okay.
Yeah. I learned these by Katie, right? And so these are co-constructed, but because she's working with early primary, she's right. That's her handwriting.
Yes.
At the older levels, I can have the kids, chart their own and create their own. So here's another basic kindergarten one. The names are the kids in the class.
Yeah.
You've got your verb pictures here of what they can do, prepositional phrases, and then the why. And so now we have complete long sentences supported by a sentence pattern chart. So much better, I think, than sentence frames. They're so expansive and the visuals are there. This is now in content. I told you this is writing across the curriculum in content. This is from my co-author, Tan Nguyen. He's at secondary. They were learning about Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was, Mesopotamia had, Mesopotamia, I don't know why it was word. So, sorry, Tan is also an English language learner. Was. Mesopotamia was. So, protected by, had, canals, was, led by, again, he's a language learner. 3. So,
Unless they're talking about the people.
yeah, people, the people in Mesopotamia. So anyway, you can see the patterns now because guess what the prompt was? English language development people. Which word would this fit? Mesopotamia. What were they doing about Mesopotamia?
Yeah.
Describing.
Describing.
Describe is, was, have, right? Right? So that's how you describe is and have. That's it. And so then what are the things they are and what are the things they have? So that gives you an idea. This came from Heather Maloney over in Harrison. I did this workshop with them. She combined 2 different things, the question words, the where, when, and the sentence pattern chart. They created their own. Amazing. These were in her newcomer group. They did a picture description. We're all talking ELD teachers about prepping for that test that's coming, the access. So she was doing this, and then who or what is in there? We have a man, we have lily pads, we have a pond, we have a flower, we have nature, we have plants. And we didn't do a positive. She had action verbs, is interested, is studying, is sitting, is, right? And then where, and they wrote this, look at this, the botanist is studying the flower at a cascade. That's one sentence. What? The bearded middle-aged botanist is studying a new type of flower in his country. What? They did it all just, and they created, I know, right? And they created it themselves. I was so impressed. So that is a sentence pattern chart. We did that in the group with just the English language development teachers. The next level, and this is all we're going to have time for, unfortunately, is the sentence dimension. When you look at grade 2 at the sentence level, we know that they're beyond just fragments, right? Sentence fragments and simple sentences. Do we have any that are just fragments, or are they all simple sentences? Are they simple sentences with some clauses, or does she have simple and compound sentences? Could you look just at the sentence and go ahead and take a minute at level 2 for a sec? Where do you see this student in grade 2? We're looking at the sentence structures.
So there's a page on just the word phrase, and then there's a page on the actual sentence structure?
It's a row.
It's a row, oh, gotcha.
It's right above the word phrase.
It's right above the word phrase.
Gotcha, okay.
It's a row. Did you find it, Jenny?
Yeah.
Okay. So that row. Where are we putting this? Okay, Sarah, do you want to go for it? Because you were really upset last time because you went to sentence level.
Well, now I'm not sure. I'm still like.
What are you finding? Do the treasure hunt.
Okay, well, so we have a sentence with clauses, but we also have a fragment. Now, this is what happens to me a lot.
So we do see an and we see an or, so we're moving kind
From 3 to 4 is what I was thinking.
But she's not solid, right? So she doesn't own it.
Right.
So you gotta go, okay, she's headed this direction.
Right.
Probably not gonna get a 5 on sentence level, right?
Right.
But this is what she's starting to be able to do, which is awesome. So I'm looking ahead and I'm like, she needs some control over that, and I'm gonna have to add some complex sentences.
But you don't think, okay, I have to go back and look at sentence fragment with her?
So
That's where I go.
I would go with combining with a range of conjunctions
Okay.
and building on what she can do. This is her sentence. I know she's going to school. Let's stop with that. This is the because button so from the writing revolution, right? And I would then have her add, why don't you expand it with because?
Got it.
Right? How do you know she's going to school? Because why? Right? So now we're going to teach that complexity. I know she's going to school because she's getting off the bus, or because I see the school, or because, right? I don't know what it is. So we tell her that if you expand with because, you're always explaining why. And they know this is the function, but we can also teach but. Can you expand with but? I know she's going to school, but.
She doesn't.
But what, go ahead.
She doesn't want to.
She doesn't want to. But she looks sad and lonely.
Right.
Similar, right? So now
So
we,
something she's already put, yeah.
do you see, I'm building on what she can do and
Mhm.
teaching that
I
next
like that.
structure, right? So it shows a result, okay? And so we could have her expand the sentence with so. I know she's going to school, so she can learn how to read and write. So she can see her friends. So, right, like what is the result of her going to school? So we teach those 3 basic structures. Sarah, I can put it all in one if it helps.
Yeah.
So this is across the curriculum. They're learning about plants in 2nd grade or 3rd grade, right? When you're learning about growing plants and what the plants need. Seedlings need light to grow because. They need light to grow, but they need light to grow so. You're learning about adaptations with animals. The fox has brown fur because, but, or so. You can do the same thing in any content area, teaching them to expand sentences. We've now moved this student into that furthest category, right? Sarah's question about, do we go back to basic sentence structure? I think that's built in. However, it's similar to, let's talk Montessori, because Angela's here, and we've got Jenny here. Math, right? If you had gone back to math basics with my daughter, who most of you, many of you know, she would still be at addition and subtraction. Instead, she got a 5 on the AP Calc test. Okay? Why? Because we kept building on what she can do and said, here, use a calculator, please. Right? For basic math. The girl cannot add or subtract her way out of a paper bag. Because we play a game at home called 99. It's with card games, so that she has to add like 87 and then she puts a 5 down on top. And seriously, it's so painful. She's 92. It is not automatic, and had they waited to do that, what a holdback, right? So I think we can build on what they've got and extend. But do you ever have them sort what are real sentences in this and what are, not,
Like
or
my
what are
inclination
fact?
would be to like explain, or when she redoes her sentence, you
Right.
can compare it to the sentence she had before, and can you tell me why this is a complete sentence, or
Right.
something like that, where you're.
Right, and
reviewing.
unfortunately, we're done, I'm so sad.
Right.
This is grade 5 at the sentence level. I love this kid's sentences, he's got it. We're way at a 6, right?
Yeah.
Now, does this mean this kid is gonna exit ELD? No, because you saw their word level. When we look at discourse, we're also gonna see discourse in a lot of ways, they're down at 1. But compound and complex sentence structures are awesome, they just need control with that. And I would say we would start with some of these like before, after, and whiles to expand that ability. And they can do it in front of or behind. So you could do that also before the fox has white fur or after the new president takes office or something like that. So you can do it across the curriculum depending on what your content is that you're writing with, and have students show this. They're also processing content with it, right? They have to understand the content to do it. So hopefully you got a couple of concrete ideas of how to take that writing and say, how do I expand it? That's what I really wanted to go with today when we look at across the curriculum. And I left you with a handout that has all the different ideas there that we got to so far. The only one we didn't get to is in a positive, and I wanted to show you this because it's so much fun. Okay, Angela, do you explicitly teach positives in 6th grade?
No.
Super fun,
Yeah.
right? And it totally expands there. Check this out. And by the way, 6th grade is one of those places they're looking for positives for language development. So this student has a lot of density. If you look at that row that says discourse, density of language, they have things like colorful shapes, small gifts, singing since 1981 when my grandpa was born. I'm like, oh my God, your grandpa was born in 1981. Oh my God, I could be your great grandpa. I seriously, that was my first thought. So I look at this and I'm like, they are way down
that's
here.
a great
This kid is great, right? Like, how do I expand? I looked ahead then at what is grade 6, and it was a positives is what they're looking for. And so I went to there, said, how do I teach it? Look at the two sentences. A piñata is a colorful shape made of paper mache. It also has candy inside, and sometimes it has small gifts. I can combine those two. A piñata, put the blue in here. A colorful shape made of paper mache has candy and small gifts inside. And I can teach the student how to do that pretty easily. Watch this. Beth Skelton, a woman who lives in Crawford, is presenting. Okay, so it's a description of me. But you could do it with your friend. So you're going to try it right now. You're going to put the name of your colleague, a description, and say, is my good friend. Okay? So you're going to look at the other person. You're going to say A and describe them. Okay? A description is my good friend. That's your ending. But you're not saying Beth, a good friend, because then it would say, is my good friend again. So try it. Just see if you can put in a positive in. A fabulous kindergarten teacher. Yes, Cheryl, an amazing dresser. And come on back. Come on back. This I had to end on. Thank you for staying an extra 5 minutes. Angela's a reading specialist. True story. They were reading, kids were reading, and this was the person that they were reading about, and then there was and then it was like a scientist in the Antarctic is blah, blah, blah. The student thought there were two people, the name of this person and the scientist in the Antarctic. It is a super common reading mistake. If you teach them how to write an appositive, they also know how to read an appositive. When you see appositives in your writing and the reading that you're reading, stop. Have them share it. Have them make one about themselves, right? The appositives are something you find in complex text, and it's something we can directly teach, and it helps them with comprehension. Thank you so